Welcome to Small Town Big Life Podcast, coming at you from the tool shed behind Grace Fellowship Church. Today, we have a guest. Jared Conti is with us, and we're going to talk about pretty much the significance of music in movies, the impact it has, the good stuff, the bad stuff, all the fun stuff. So, all right, we'll get started right now. How you doing, Jared?
I'm great, thanks. How are you?
I'm awesome. I'm glad you're here.
Thanks.
We were pretty stoked about this conversation. Why don't you tell everyone listening about you?
Sure. I'm a husband of one and a father of two, and I'm a managing barista at Avenue 209 Coffee House in Lock Haven, Pennsylvania, and we are church-owned. And I've been doing that for almost 13, 14 years.
We've known each other that long?
Yeah.
Holy cow.
Church-owned.
A church-owned coffee shop.
Technically, yes.
Yeah.
The church.
That is awesome.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's pretty,
I mean, some churches open a gift shop in the lobby, but you guys got a full-blown independent coffee shop.
Yeah. We're working on it. It's pretty good stuff. Yeah, it's a nice.
Man, that is cool.
It's a nice little segue into
getting a steakhouse, church steakhouse.
Well,
wow, that's a lot to ask
Yeah.
for.
That's a tall order.
Yeah.
You're right. Yeah, coffees makes more sense. Yeah.
You know, well, you've got Sundays potlucks, so
Yeah.
I'm sure a steakhouse could work too.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah. Except the vegetarian. Yeah, got to be politically correct.
You can
I
have
guess.
those too. That's
You
okay.
can.
Yeah.
That's true. And have served not dogs from.
Sure.
Ugh.
I've never had one. No.
Not dogs and shamburgers and
Yeah.
awful. Yeah, I'm a poet and a writer and a musician, and I'm kind of do a little bit of everything.
Man, we're kindred spirits. All three of us.
Yeah.
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 So this is cool. This is cool. It's like hippies.
I know, man.
Jesus hippies.
Yeah, dude.
I know I don't look like I used to look, but oh well.
He used to have long hair.
Oh boy.
It was pretty.
Like metal.
Yeah.
Like,
Oh, what do you mean? No, not like.
Well,
When you say it
yeah.
that way, people picture like hair sprayed up.
no, not like,
Right.
Motley Crue metal, like Metallica metal.
Yeah. There you go. That's
You
more.
know?
Okay. Yeah.
Like still clean.
Right.
You know?
Sure.
Well, so we've all got this common interest, this common ground. We'll jump right into it. This conversation topic about music and movies, its impact, its distraction, or whatever else. I know, Jackie, you're busting with a lot to say on the topic, so why don't you open it up?
Well, the first thing I thought about when we were talking about this privately was movies that you watch that have like an epic scene in them that makes the movie, and the music makes the scene. And
Sure.
imagine if there was that scene but no music. It wouldn't work. And the one that I was thinking of was Willem Dafoe in Platoon.
Mm-hmm.
At the end, when he's running and they kill him, and Adagio for strings is playing, and it swells, and he does the
Man, I remember the scene.
This.
I remember the scene, but I can't think of the music.
yeah. You would know it in a
The scene.
in a
The scene
second.
the scene was absolutely heartbreaking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But if it was like, it wouldn't have worked. So is there something like that you just right off the top of your head, you go, the movie with the guy with the thing?
You and I have a lot of the same interests as far as popular culture,
Mm-hmm.
and I think when you said, "Hey, listen to a couple of these podcasts," the one that I listened to that I paid attention to the most was the Star Wars one.
Yeah.
And you can't pick out a particular scene.
Right.
It's the whole way through.
Mm-hmm.
John Williams is.
Yeah.
You could do a whole show on just. And you're right, because it's funny that you mentioned that. That's the first thing I thought of when she brought the scene up.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. And it was for me. There's a ton of them, but for me, it was Duel of the Fates,
Okay.
which is Darth Maul. Dun, 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 dun.
Yeah.
When they're getting ready to have when they're having that fight, and I'm
You
like,
just know something
yeah.
epic is about to happen.
and as soon as he opens that light, he
Yeah.
starts up that double bladed light.
Sure.
Dun, 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 dun. You're like, oh, it's on, man.
We lived in Pittsburgh a while ago, and there were three of us nerds that lived in the same house. And when we wanted to it'd just be silly. One of us would and the other one we'd just follow along. It was great.
Yeah. He's you talk about someone who has added a layer of emotion to movies. It's John Williams. I mean, those movies, man, because of he's done so much for the movie. I mean, we were just talking about schlock, old 50s movies where it was overbearing. The music was, too loud and too intense, and sometimes subtlety is a good thing. And they didn't believe in that in the 60s and the 70s. Not too often.
Right.
So it's Star Wars rings a bell. That's the
and you look at and you say about that lasting and his music works so well. Like if you look in like bigger cities. Oh goodness, I can hear.
I hear that too.
I hear that too.
There's a siren in the background.
You were putting something.
Mics are sensitive.
No.
You look at bigger cities. I remember living in Pittsburgh, and they would have concerts. They would have a John Williams concert,
Really?
where they would play, let's play some Star Wars and let's play Indiana Jones and all that, and then they have they have like Lord of the Rings, and they have Lord of the Rings, big huge concerts and they'll sell out to crowds and stuff like that.
Oh, that would be awesome.
Yeah, they came to Columbus a few years ago, John Williams Orchestra, and they show the scenes on a big screen, and the live orchestra plays the music to them.
So I would love to see. I would love to be a part of that.
Yeah.
That'd be great.
Jeez, that would be awesome.
Yeah, no, it would. Loving every kind of music, pretty much that there is, that stuff can get real emotional. I mean, when you see it live, it's like a Beethoven or something like that, or an orchestra. You hear it, classical music, and it's powerful on its own. But when you experience it, and it's just so many different pieces come together live, there's something about it that's just deeply moving, I think.
Oh, absolutely.
So,
Yeah.
But John Williams being the composer, that's a bonus.
Yeah.
I think he's the modern day, equivalent of Beethoven or somebody like that. He's got a larger body of work than any of the classics, actually.
Yeah, when you really think about it.
What about stuff like that's not John Williams? Like, because I know you just talked about Platoon, and we talked about classic music, and I'm not leaving classic music,
Right.
But any song that sticks out, and sometimes there's a trailer comes to my mind, but any song, I'll get to it. Yeah. In a movie that sticks out, you're like, this couldn't be more perfect for this character or this scene, or.
I love in Predator.
Yeah.
And that's going to show you the kind of movies I watch. The very first Predator with Schwarzenegger, when they play Long Tall Sally in the chopper, and it kind of is setting the mood that they're bad boys going into war, and then they get their butts kicked, and then the movie ends after they get to the chopper, and then boom, they play the music again. They play Long Tall Sally at the credits, like snapping
awesome.
you back to reality.
I forgot about that.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's an excellent use of a tune.
Yeah.
Anything stick out for you?
And it's really funny because I've not seen any of these movies.
What?
Say Anything.
Yeah.
Which is this iconic scene and the iconic song, and he's got the boombox above his head, but I've never seen it. And I don't want to see it because I have this, and this has happened with a bunch of movies, but I have this, everybody's seen it and everybody loves it and everybody loves that scene and that song and that movie, and it's like, I've never seen it, and I don't want to subject myself to hating it because I already hate it as the song, and it just makes me uncomfortable.
I'm showing him on my piece of paper, Just Okay Movies.
There you go.
With great music.
Yep.
John Cusack.
As you're saying it, she's highlighting your point.
Beautiful.
So she wasn't ignoring you; she was echoing you.
I've written a story about it. No, I've written a poem about it. I'm working on another story about it, and just I can't stand it. but it's so iconic, and it's so neat to see. You know, there was a picture floating around a couple years ago of him in Jedi robes with R2-D2 above his head, and there's just so much. There's so much gravitas behind it, and behind the song, and behind the scene that if I was ever to watch it, it would just.
You think it'd ruin it?
I know it would.
Yeah.
Another great soundtrack. Okay, movie. If we were okay to go with that.
Yeah.
Garden State.
I didn't see Garden State.
Don't.
I've never seen someone
Really?
else who's seen.
Bad.
It's bad, but it's also incredibly depressing.
Yeah.
boy.
He wrote it.
Zach Braff.
Zach Braff wrote it. Zach Braff was the guy that was the lead doctor in Scrubs.
Oh, okay.
You remember that guy?
Yeah. I know he is.
So he wrote this incredibly depressing movie.
Man.
But it's meh. It's a meh
Okay.
movie. Like if it was free and there was absolutely nothing else on and I was in the mood to cry, maybe I'd watch it. But the music.
Well, and that's and for me, the music, just listening to this album, and it's an album that I can listen to straight through and not have to forward through any songs. It's that good.
Yeah.
But I listened to the music before I watched the movie.
Yeah.
And it was built up so much, and it just didn't equate to what
The movie was.
the music was. Yeah, the movie did not equate to what.
Yeah.
It was just.
And
not
Natalie
great.
Portman's in it, and I love her. You know, I'll watch her in just about anything. And yeah, it was just at the end of it, you just feel like, meh. Well,
Kind of a dud.
I guess I saw it. I can say I saw it. Me.
I saw. I mean, there's a gazillion examples, but the reason I brought up trailer is because I don't know why this one stuck out in my head so much. But recently,
here we go.
about a year ago, I saw a trailer, and I only saw this trailer with this piece of music once, and it was for the Joker movie.
Yes.
And it was Joaquin, the Joker walking down a sidewalk, and it was in slow motion, but it was Linda Ronstadt. You're no good, you're no good, you're no good, baby, you're no good. And I was like, that's smart, that's epic.
It was dope.
I mean, I think that's what a perfect.
Did you see Joker? Mm-hmm. And
I thought it was fantastic.
but
No, I don't know if there's. I don't think that superhero movies are so hard anymore. Mm-hmm. And I think because this is a whole different conversation, but I think that those are also built up. I think that you see the last 10, 11, 12 years of Marvel, who has built a cohesive standard universe and done it really well. And then you look at something like DC,
yeah,
derailed.
And nothing is cohesive, and nothing is there's too many cooks in the kitchen, and I think it's good as a standalone film. I don't think it's my Joker.
No, it's not my
Joker. Did you actually watch it?
Oh yeah.
I wasn't sure if you actually watched the movie or not, because it is really messed up and dark.
Well, I disagree with. I hear a lot of people parroting the same opinion on social media. And I know this. We've done movie broadcasts, and this isn't one of them. But we're here now. So they say, well, this shows about how society has failed. The system has failed a patient. I'm like, no. This is. You're talking about a grain of sand of social commentary. This is about the roots of a comic book character. This is not about if you watch that movie and all you get is social commentary, you're not suspending disbelief enough to enjoy the fiction of the character, of the story, the fabric of who he is. He's as a writer, you always the more you can make people understand the antagonist, the better. The better of a villain he is. Like, for example, Magneto in the X-Men. He's awful. But when you understand why he's the way he is, then you're like, well, I get that. The Joker is one of the few characters in all literature that is just evil for no reason. He's just an agent of chaos. And he gets a pass because not knowing anything, he's like the devil. I mean, you're just like, he's bad and I know it, and
and that's the way it is.
And he's one of the few exceptions to the rule. You don't know his backstory. So when they showed the backstory, I didn't want to watch it at first, but when I saw it, I thought it was so well written, it was so well done, and it was a feather in the cap of DC because, like you said, Marvel brought to the screen everything they used to do in the comics.
Right.
Everything came together, and
Right.
crossovers and everything else, and they succeeded. DC has just derailed because they've not been consistent about anything. They're different directors, different Supermans, different stories. This one can't join this one, and you're like, not quite hitting the mark. But I liked it a lot. I thought it was well done. I didn't look for social commentary. I just looked for a well-written story.
You know, now that I think about it, there was a second trailer when it really started to pick up steam, and they were talking about awards, and it was the Joker walking down the steps to that song "Smile."
Yes, I remember that.
Yeah, and it was like, oh wow.
That's a thing they do in movies a lot. They'll show a horrible scene, and you know, when they first did it, I'm like, okay, I get it. Like in Good Morning Vietnam, I think it was Good Morning Vietnam, where they're showing the napalm, the bombs, and everything, and they show see sunshine, happy tree. You know, and you're like, okay. So the irony effect, and I get it. And it's cool and it's effective, but I think now. A lot of directors lean into that to where you almost expect it. I don't know. What do you think?
I think sometimes we're just trying too hard.
Yeah.
And again, you look at the Joker movie, and I get where that social commentary comes in, but I think that grain of sand was less about him and more about the city. You know, you think about Gotham City, and Gotham City is the pits of.
Yep.
That's where the bottom is, and it's not necessarily. He's just the spark that's lighting everything up.
Yeah.
And
I think he would have the character in the story, and I'm under the impression he would have derailed no matter where he was.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
So when I say there's a grain of sand about social commentary, when you're right, that's a very good point because it is social commentary on Gotham City.
and or the system, but it's not all bad.
I know.
And if you're looking at the Joker himself, like you said, nobody knows the origin,
Right?
and he was so messed up anyway that that origin is probably not the real origin anyway.
Right.
You know, you've got all sorts of different stuff leaning into it, and the guy's crazy to begin with.
I think they did Heath Ledger's. Every time they ask him, he told a different story.
Yeah.
Like, you want to know how I got these scars?
Yeah.
And it was never the same story.
Yeah.
Right.
And that. He was so menacing.
He was so
menacing when he showed up.
But he's one of those. He was rest in peace. One of those those actors that just immerses themselves in the role, like Daniel Day-Lewis. Like you can't talk to Daniel. Well, he doesn't act anymore, but you can't talk to him on a set. He is the character.
Right.
He doesn't break character. So
we that's another.
yeah, we talked about that a lot.
We can. I want to go in like a billion directions talking about acting and stuff.
What was this podcast about?
Jared, why don't you take the steering wheel? What's on your mind when you think about all
Things.
this topic, music, and
It just, I look at it from a writing perspective. It is so integral to, the story because it moves everything along. And I think that as a storyteller, if I could be so bold, you need all those working parts. You need music. You need the visuals. You need the actors and the acting, and the music just kind of runs alongside of you, or runs behind you, or runs in front of you, and just kind of immerses you in that.
it turns up the contrast on the emotions.
Yeah.
I think.
It's and just like anything, it kind of sets the scene. It makes it where it needs to be.
Yeah.
And I've been thinking about this a lot over the last week. That's what they pay these people for.
True.
Oh, yeah.
You're paying actors and you're paying producers and you're paying all these people, but somebody is somebody sitting down and thinking real hard about what is going to make that space. And again, I think it's not just the music, but it all works together. It all has this, everybody's hands are in it to make it the best piece it can be.
And that's what's magical about film. I mean, we all know, you go back to the history of when they made the moving picture.
Right.
So then you get people that can take photographs, and then you get people who can paint and understand art, and these people are gifted with cinematography, and then the ones who understand the cameras, the films, and then the techies, and then the music. Film is truly a collaboration of many, many, many art forms coming together. And you're right, it's absolutely necessary. It's like if you're going to make a good film, I mean, you can't. It's difficult to do any painting if one of your primary colors that your go-to is not available for your palette. And I would say taking music out, it's like taking away about 6 or 7 colors from your palette.
And there's some directors I've read and seen documentaries where, when the director is making the pitch to the actors or to whoever it might be, like Scorsese, he already knows what the song's going to be in the background.
Yep.
We're going to do this scene, and they're going to sit here and they're going to pull the bread off and dip it in the wine. And Angelina Zuma Zuma is going to be playing in the background. It's got to be that song. And then, and they just know.
They see you paint the vision.
The whole thing. Tarantino is the same way. I mean, obviously he named a movie after me. But one of my favorite movies of all time, because the soundtrack is amazing.
That's a good topic. What's your favorite soundtrack? Well,
I can't
I guess
answer
it's
that.
hard to say.
I can't. I mean,
Well, okay,
No.
just pop off a couple good ones.
Garden State is phenomenal. High Fidelity is excellent. High Fidelity is got to be one of my favorites. I'm a big soundtrack. I really enjoy, and it's not all soundtrack. It's but I really enjoy Stranger Things. That Stranger, throw in those '80s tunes.
Yeah.
That makes it really great too.
Yep. You're right. There's a ton. I like Forrest Gump and Oh Brother, Where Art Thou?
Absolutely.
Oh yeah.
Which was one dude.
No.
Yeah.
Oh Brother, Where Art Thou? Was a bunch of artists.
Then whoa, wait. I'm a man of constant sorrow.
Oh, but that's just that
is
one song.
One dude, yeah.
Yeah. That's just that song.
I told my husband that, and he's like, no. And then I played him a video that they've made of him, the dude, doing all the different voices, and he's like,
yeah.
But
The Graduate is really good.
Oh yeah,
I'm a huge fan
The Big
of that
Chill.
album. Yeah, The Big Chill was great.
Yeah.
And
I'm a big fan of Guardians of the Galaxy because it was the 70s mix.
That's a good call.
Yeah,
that was a great. Ooga chaka.
Well, maybe not that one, but
I love that
all the
song.
rest of them.
Love that song.
I think that's one of those that's one of those albums for me that when you say good music, so-so movie, I think good movie, so-so music.
Oh.
There's a bunch of those.
The music makes that movie, but for me, without the movie, the music doesn't do it for me. I listened to so much of that music when I was a kid that it was good as a kid.
Yeah.
And I enjoyed it and it was my thing to listen to. But I bought the CDs at a yard sale and I put them in and I was just like, this isn't
Not the same.
without seeing the action with it.
Yeah.
Seeing,
That's a good point.
Without seeing Peter Quill dance along and do whatever he's doing. Again, it goes with that visuals and that complete package. I think that.
But there is also the factor of overplaying songs and hearing them. If you did hear those songs over and over and over again, like to me, like I cannot watch Grease or Men in Black.
Oh, sure.
Because just the songs over and over in my head, and Titanic.
Yeah.
The song over and over and over. It's Celine Dion, and then you want to jump off the boat eventually.
Yeah.
But are there any movies like that for you that it's just like, oh,
The music is awful.
yeah.
Man, I'm sure there are. None are coming to mind. There's got to be. I'm preoccupied because since I had a thought pop into my head.
I'm sorry.
No. It's it was my wife. When I told her we were going to be talking about this, she said she immediately brought up Jesus Christ Superstar, and I said, I think we're talking about soundtracks more than we are music. But then I found out later we're talking about all things music and film, and I started to think about that a lot. That Ted Neely, he's still doing that. He's still playing Jesus.
Really?
Yeah. In
I
Broadway.
saw.
And have you seen Jesus Christ Superstar?
Yes, with Michael Damon, who was on The Young and the Restless.
No, I'm talking about the original from the 70s.
No.
Like, you haven't seen that?
No.
Have you seen it?
Once, I think. It was pretty great.
Okay, so, yeah. So years and years and years went by, and I didn't see it. And then when I don't know, it's been a long time, man. 11 years ago, probably, or so, or longer. My wife said, "Oh, I love that movie. We should watch it." And I said, "I'm not watching that. I hate musicals. I can't stand them. I mean, I loathe musicals." And she goes, "Yeah, but the content, you should listen to the lyrics and all that. When's the last time you saw it?" And I said, "Well, I was a kid, and blah blah blah." So we put it in, and then I was like, "Man, this still holds up." I mean, it's a theater group that the whole film doesn't hide the fact that they're a theater group and they're going out to the desert to make a theater film, and and then the singing is the voice. Like Ted Neely's got some rock and roll in his voice, and the guy that plays Judas, who killed himself in real life, I think, his voice is amazing. And when you see the exchanges between the two and the lyrics, I was like, man, this is really powerful. And I forgot it still holds up. Because, you go back and watch movies that you thought were awesome from the 70s, and you watch it and you go, ugh,
Yeah.
this is awful.
Yeah.
But that had the opposite effect on me. And it was because of the lyrical content why it holds my interest. And, well, the music's really, really well done. So anyway.
And how it was presented. I mean, it's a very serious topic.
Yeah.
But these guys look ridiculous.
Yes.
I mean, it's the 70s.
Yeah.
And they just look goofy, and the music, and I can't stand a musical either.
Yeah.
But it just looks and sounds not like what you would expect.
Right.
So it's not all it's not all stylized like Hair. Like the movie of Hair was very perfected.
No, they show them getting in the movie. It shows the filmmakers or the staff, the actors, pulling up on a bus and getting off and unloading cameras on and putting on props and fake clothing and all this stuff, and then the story unfolds. You watch the whole story, and then at the end, it ends with them packing everything up, getting back, and they don't use props; they use good backgrounds and stuff, but it's it presents itself like we're going to go out and get some props and
tell you a story.
Tell you a story with our songs and film it. And it's not like, so they're not trying to pass it off as anything other than that. And so.
Interesting.
Yeah. And so it's easier. I don't know. It's very honest, I guess, in that way.
I get that. Yeah, honest is good.
Yeah. Yeah. So anyway, I can't do musicals. Can't do them. People ask, I really can't give you a straight answer. I think at that point it's not for me, and this isn't by no means to be taken as the solid truth, but just for me and my artistic preferences, that's where the music ceases to complement the movie, and they're trying to get the movie to complement the music, which is a tougher sell for me. I guess, I don't know, or support, not complement, support. They're getting the movie to support the music more than they're getting the music to support. I don't know. There's something about that marriage that's dysfunctional when it's a musical. Like when I'm out, like the old movies, what are they? The Sharks and the Jets with what's that?
West Side Story.
Yeah. As soon as these are gangs, as soon as they start snapping their fingers, I'm like, I'm
breaking
out.
into song.
Yeah, let's break into something. Let's have a dance off. And
Yes.
I don't know, man. I just it's not my thing. I know some people love that stuff. It just was never my gig. Wow. What?
I can't stand a musical either, and I think it's because life doesn't work that way.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I could have just said that.
Yeah. No.
But you got
That's good.
That's how
That's
you got
best.
to it, because I've never thought as to why I haven't liked them.
Yeah.
But I think you're absolutely right. You're trying to force the music into the movie or into the musical, into the play, instead of. Right? Is that what
no,
it is?
yeah,
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
Instead of
I
making
even
it-
struggled with how to articulate
Yes.
it. But
Yeah.
Weird.
Yeah.
No, I can see that though. It's like
What about you? Do you like musicals? I'm trying to think if there's one. Jesus Christ Superstar would be the only one that gets a pass for me.
For me,
But
Hamilton gets a pass.
okay, I never saw it.
It's very educational.
Yep.
It's a lot of rapping. I love Lin-Manuel Miranda's writing.
Okay.
And he did a very good job explaining the history of the Revolutionary War. But other than that, yeah, like the new West Side Story thing, the new remake, I didn't watch that.
I wouldn't watch it. I'd rather watch paint dry.
I mean, things like A Hard Day's Night.
Yeah.
That I can watch.
Well, see, but okay.
But that's different, too.
That's a musical
different.
movie, not a musical.
Right, because they're actually walking in and performing, and that's part of the story.
Yeah,
it's not like,
Yeah.
let's go to the beach. We went to the beach.
Like in Monty Python.
Exactly.
Stop that.
Nope,
None of that.
nope.
Yeah. None of that singing while I'm here.
Nope.
Right.
One day, son, all this will be yours.
Huge tracks of land.
She's got huge tracts of land.
What the curtains?
That was nice. I appreciate that. Thank you.
But yeah, something like that, or like the movie Once. I remember years ago, you and I talked about the movie Once. Because it was a story about a songwriter and meeting his magical piano player partner. So the music was validly part of the story. And
Yeah, but
wasn't-
I don't consider that a musical.
Really?
No, I think a musical is where you take a fictional dialogue and you turn it into a song, like you just did a second ago.
Yeah.
You know, like when I'm going to the store. He's going to the store. We're going to the store. That's stupid.
Yeah.
But when you take music and you're telling a music like Immortal Beloved, that's Beethoven's music. That's a phenomenal movie. Gary Oldman crushes it. One of my favorite movies. Because I was freaky about reading about him anyway, and then the movie came out, and I'm like, oh, get to see this. But it's like it's about the music. So it's not they're not fictionalizing real life. They're presenting the music. Here's how it happened. Here's what it sounded like. That kind of thing. And I don't consider that, even though it's about music and a musician, it's not a musical per se.
So then, how do you feel about this surge of biopics lately, like Walk the Line and Ray and
that's a good point.
Aretha and?
I think they're biopics. Those aren't musicals.
So it makes So those are okay because
I think I would define musical as when you take the script and try to put it to music. You make the script the part of the music. The music the part of the script is what I mean.
So I can give you two great examples and it'll make perfect sense.
Okay.
Bohemian Rhapsody.
Okay, that's not a musical.
Rocket Man.
That's a musical.
Exactly.
See, I've not seen either of them.
I had to. Bohemian Rhapsody you would love.
Okay.
Because it is a really intense, interesting story.
And Rocket Man gets a pass because it's Elton John and it was extremely artistic. And the music, I just don't like it when they use music and from a different performer. That bugs me.
See, I couldn't get into Rocket Man because instead of having him perform the song, sit on the piano and perform the song, he was in a tailor shop.
It was one long
getting a suit, and then suddenly.
Yeah, but it was one long. Listen, Rocket Man was one long music video. Would you agree with that?
I didn't see the whole thing.
Explaining his. As a pastor, I had to check out on a couple of parts.
Well,
I'm
I
like,
wasn't
boy,
gonna bring
this
that
wasn't
up.
necessary. And
I wasn't going to go there.
yeah, but I don't know. It's a quirky.
Yeah, I couldn't get into it, but Bohemian Rhapsody I will watch all day long. And the end scene, they've researched the performance.
That's interesting because Bryan Singer butchered Queen's real history in that movie. But
Well, but
it's Queen.
the Live Aid performance at the end, when they did it, you can put them scene to scene next to each other.
They did it perfect.
When the Live Aid 1983, maybe, when Queen performed, and they literally matched it frame for frame down to the Pepsi on top of the piano, and it's beautiful. And I could just, if I have 20 minutes, I'll go to YouTube, and pop that scene on. That's all I need.
Is there any kind of? You think any movie that you can think of? Just I know we kind of talked about this, but really just was ruined because the music was so bad? Or could have been way better. Maybe not ruined. Maybe that's too harsh. Maybe, man, they could have beefed this up with better tunes.
No, I mean,
I guess it's hard to say because you can't really imagine what would be there if all that's there now.
Exactly,
Was bad.
yeah.
That's kind of a trick question.
you know, but I will say, and going back to like Guardians of the Galaxy,
Yeah.
and thinking about the new, Guardians of the Galaxy 2 came out, and then Suicide Squad came out, and it was like, oh, let's show. I think there's this affinity lately, or this mockery is not the word. Let's show this ragtag group of adventurers walking on the stage to this really cool, funky song. And you've got Guardians of the Galaxy here, and you've got the Suicide Squad over here. The same feel, and as much as I'm kind of getting tired of that comic book movie thing.
Yeah.
I'm kind of getting tired of Suicide Squad is DC's Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah.
The new one is even directed by the same guy.
With the giant
I've not seen it.
shark.
But it's, you're...
when you take a movie like that, in my head, you take a movie like that, like Suicide Squad, and then you put it next to a movie like The Blues Brothers.
Right.
Where they're both on a mission.
Yep.
They're both, out to do something, and there's
Oh my
funny,
gosh.
quirky characters in
That's
the
a
background.
musical, and I love it.
Yeah. But it's like
Score.
completely opposite ends of the spectrum.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
Well, and again, I think you're kind of almost like shoehorning that music in sometimes.
Yeah.
I think Blues Brothers, when you talk about Scorsese, this is the song I want to see or the song you want to hear when this action is happening. That's kind of what Blues Brothers felt like to me.
Yeah, yeah.
It was organic, and some of this stuff just isn't anymore.
Thank
organic.
you. I feel better.
Wes Anderson really kicks it with.
I love Wes.
I'm thinking
I
Wes
love Wes
Anderson
Anderson.
or Paul Wes Anderson.
Have you?
Wes Anderson with the come on, and now I can't think it. The Royal Tenenbaums.
Yes.
And the soundtracks and the it's subtle. It's not over the top. It's
The Life
not,
Aquatic.
Yes, I was just getting ready.
Yeah.
You're the only other person with a pulse I know that. I love that
We're
movie.
saying this a lot today.
But in school we had to act a scene from it, and I'd never seen it. I'm like, what is this?
Yeah.
And they said The Life Aquatic. You haven't seen this? And I go, no. So I watched it. I'm like, this movie's awesome.
It's one of those. It's one of those things that it's that type of humor.
Yeah, it's a
that
very specific.
You either get it or you don't.
It's the dry.
Yeah.
It's the dry.
It's Monty Python. It's dry. It's Graham Norton. It's
It's the who was that? Angelica Houston.
Yes,
Angelica It's this little
Houston.
subtle things.
Yeah.
Because
like when she says that he shoots blanks.
No, when he says something about I forget their dog or something got killed. What happened to the dog? A snake bit its throat out, and he goes, "Do you have to say it like that?" just little weird things like
Well,
that.
Bill Murray is genius in most things.
He's a good guy too.
That's what I hear.
Yeah.
He doesn't return my calls, but
Me either.
and he's got a stellar clothing line that's actually really expensive.
He's got a really good he's got a really good bar down in South Carolina.
Really?
And I don't know if it's his bar or he just threw some money into it, but we have a drink at the shop called the Cabin Fever, and it's an orange and ginger beer and basil and espresso, and I had it when I was there, and the food was tremendous, and the liquor selection was neat, and it's just a hole in the wall. I mean, it wasn't like anything overly fancy, but yeah, Bill Murray.
But that's another one of those movies where he had to be thinking about the music ahead of time. We're going to get this guy, and he's going to sing David Bowie songs in Portuguese, and it's going to be part of the movie.
And it's going to make it what it is.
And
Kind
it's-
of like,
yeah.
and as much as I didn't care for, there's something about Mary.
Oh, I hate that movie.
Just those two guys coming in every once in a while with the guitars and singing their little bit was
Yeah.
just like
Yeah.
fantastic. But the movie itself was just
Oh. We don't judge here, but
Right.
I'm judging on that one. Sorry.
Speaking of, Ghostbusters Afterlife is going to kick a whole lot of booty.
Is it?
I'm just
Really?
going to say that right now.
So
Like,
is Spider-Man.
I've not seen the trailer yet.
Okay, listen. Spider. Okay, remember how we were talking earlier about Marvel doing all the things in the movies that they did in the comics? Okay, so what's happening here, and I think you'll pick up some of this maybe from the trailer. Is did you see Into the Spider-Verse, the cartoon?
Oh my gosh,
That was good.
that was well done.
Well, okay, that a lot of people may not know this. That has some innovative and new techniques in animation that are employed, that are mixed together, that are not traditionally mixed together, that make it really, really interesting. My daughter called me when it came out because she was in art school at the time, and she graduated now. Or no, she's already graduated when she saw it. She said, "Listen, Dad, so we start talking about animation. You got to see it." And so you know the movie.
Yeah.
But for anyone listening or watching, it is all the Spider-Mans from parallel universes end up in one universe. And I'm pretty sure that's what's going to happen in this movie because Tobey Maguire is in it. And in the trailer, they're showing him say, and I'm not, this isn't a spoiler because it's in the trailer. They show him go to Doctor Strange and say, the whole world knows I'm Spider-Man now. And they got Parker.
Yeah.
And
yeah,
you know, and
J.K. Simmons.
we got to trade, we got to change, we got to fix this. And Doctor Strange, and then they show the spell. He goes, okay, everyone will from here on out forget your Spider-Man. He goes, well, wait a minute, not MJ, because that's how we got together. She can't not know. He goes, I can't undo this, and it's happening. And he goes, Aunt May can't not know. And then he says, what's done is done. No one will know Peter Parker is Spider-Man. And then they show Doc Ock from the old movie come up out of a smoky cloud going, hello, Peter. And you're like, this is going to be awesome if they do like Into the Spider-Verse. And they bring the different Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield and other villains, like maybe because it'll be like 7 or something like that, to where they're not going to show you on the poster or in the trailers because that'll ruin it. But I knew it was going in this direction, but I didn't know to what degree. And I think it's a brand new flavor because that's how Marvel's been succeeding, doing things that people say you can't do that. And I think the next big accomplishment will be X-Men meets Avengers. No one has said that, but I think it's an inevitability. But
we've been talking about this at work for a long time.
Yeah.
And we've got some kids that are 20 years younger than I am who have... I've been seeing these movies as adults. As an adult, they've been seeing these movies as kids. So it's interesting to see the connections that they're making that I'm not making, that we're just finding out. I mean, this has been going on for forever.
Yeah.
The Spider-Verse and the multiple worlds. And I mean, you've got all of this stuff with Doctor Strange and you know, the Dormammu and every time stuff keeps happening there at the end, and it's just going to explode.
Yeah,
and it's gonna do.
Well, because they didn't. I'm not sure how old you are. I'm guessing probably 20 years younger than me. But in the comics, you know, I read that stuff as a kid.
Yeah.
So it's like you said, it is a different perspective, and it's interesting to see how it plays out from their view. Because to them, a lot of it's new. A lot of them didn't read the comics.
Right.
So anyway.
But what about them drifting away from the comics, like the whole what ifs thing?
I didn't read the what ifs as a kid because for me, even then I was a nerd. I had to be canon. I had to know what was happening.
And that's where I think, and that's where again, we're coming back to the DC Marvel.
We're back in movies again. Yeah,
that's okay. That's okay.
But I think that's where Marvel is taking those steps. You've got three actors that have done Spider-Man. At least recently?
Tobey Maguire, Andrew Garfield, and
The young
Tom
guy,
Holland.
Tom Holland.
Okay. You're finding a way to make them the same by having the multiverse, right?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And there have been a lot of Spider-Man movies, right? There's been this will be 3, and there's 2 and then 3 Tobey Maguire movies.
Oh yeah, this is
Yeah.
like the 7th or 8th one.
Yeah.
I don't need.
It recontextualizes the other ones.
Yeah, and you're almost tying a nice little bow on it.
Yeah.
But DC is gonna have. Again, I don't need to see another Batman movie.
Yeah.
I know.
And you're gonna have, you've got Keaton, Kilmer, Clooney.
They need to get the character right.
Pattinson.
They need.
Yeah.
I don't think to
And the
this
guy
day they
before him.
still. I don't think,
Christian Bale.
yeah, I don't think they've ever got Batman right. And that's not a dig on the actors. It's just that would be the casting director. But anyway.
And I've enjoyed some of them.
Yeah.
Keaton was good. I enjoyed the Christian Bale ones. I didn't care for. Oh, and we forgot about Affleck.
Yeah.
Oh, geez.
But like,
Yeah, well, how could we forget about he's forgettable.
Marvel is taking these characters that are out of the bounds of they're taking characters that aren't so ingrained in the consciousness.
Right.
We've only had Batman and Superman movies.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
I don't need any more Batman and Superman movies because they're not working for me.
And the second Wonder Woman.
And they've been okay. And the second Wonder Woman was pretty horrible.
It was awful.
Well, that's how Marvel came to rise. They're sticking to the original recipe. When DC Comics came out, Marvel's biggest blow, Stan Lee said, "Listen, okay, their characters are too perfect. They're untouchable. They don't have any problems. People are not going to associate we need people with problems. Tony Stark is an alcoholic. Mm-hmm. He rose to power when people were protesting the war. He was an arms dealer scientist that built weapons. He's going to make a hero out of an alcoholic weapons dealer. And Peter Parker is a kid who can't get the girl. Spider-Man, whereas Batman is Batman, and Bruce Wayne is a mask. Peter Parker, Spider-Man is Peter Parker, and Spider-Man is a mask. The story's really about Peter Parker. So you go into the Marvel universe and they capitalize. We're not going to use fake cities. We use real cities.
Right.
We're going to have Keystone City and Gotham and Metropolis. We're going to use Manhattan and Brooklyn, and we're going to use real cities, and we're going to create characters that have real life problems.
And then we're going to break the Avengers apart because of what they did to the world.
Well, they wanted broken people
Right.
to become heroes instead of people that were too perfect. Now, DC gave a nod to when Batman was just a person. Now, so I think that same philosophy has moved into the film, but it's like you said, I think DC's trying to be like Marvel now, and they're just not succeeding.
Yeah.
And they're not... it depends on who we talk to, and I don't think there's any wrong opinions. One guy might say, it's a bad writer, or it's a bad director, or there's too many shots being called. It's like you said, the overall broad stroke of the problem is too many cooks in the kitchen.
I mean, look at what they did with the Justice League, what they commercially put out, which was crap.
I couldn't get through it.
And then you look at the other version, the Zack Snyder's, thank you, Zack Snyder's original vision.
Yeah.
And it makes complete sense.
But it was also crap.
Yeah, but it made sense at least.
It did. But again, I don't need to watch an extended movie. Mm-hmm. I like movies, and I will watch them. And if I watch the end, not the end credits, but if I watch deleted scenes, that's cool. I don't necessarily need them in the movie. I don't have time to sit down and watch a 4-hour movie.
True. Unless it's The Godfather.
It took me 3 days, 3 different sittings to watch that movie. And I didn't enjoy the movie enough the first time for when I watched the 4-hour flick to know what was different. It didn't feel like there was much added or enough added.
I just felt it was so contrived. The Flash guy was the Jar Jar Binks of the movie. He was the comic relief. And as much as I love Jason Momoa, Aquaman was such a turd. I mean, and they're making another one. And then Affleck as Batman is just like watching a wall talk.
Yeah.
There's no... To me, it's like Ben Affleck as Batman to me, is like Hayden Christensen as Anakin.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
That's a pretty strong statement.
So, you know what I mean, though? Just emotionless and vapid and, yeah, we're going to go fix Metropolis.
Yeah, and now there's another Batman movie coming out, which
Our Pat.
you know what? I'll give it a chance. I give all these a chance. I give them all a chance. I'm surprised by some of the ones I don't think are going to be good, and I'll give it a chance. And I don't think that any of these movies are just garbage, but in the content, when you put them in the same classroom with some of the other ones, like Batman, they were good movies. They were fun movies. The highlight of the whole thing was Heath Ledger's performance, but Marvel's continues to crush it. And I think Marvel cares more about character development than the shtick.
Yes.
It's like you said with the guys, they're walking on and playing. I think that's the DC mentality. And I don't know.
I mean, the final Avengers, despite the fact that it was 3 hours, made me weep.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because they had brought me through the story, through the characters, and developed the characters that far.
Yeah. You were invested.
Yeah.
You were invested. Yep.
When they killed Superman in whichever movie that was that they killed Superman, to me it was like, oh, they killed Superman. He'll be back.
But there wasn't enough build up.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And you didn't need Superman to come back in the next movie.
Because you weren't invested.
Right.
You weren't
He was
invested.
back 30 seconds later.
And you're giving me these characters that don't have any. Now, again, I didn't see Aquaman yet, but you're giving us characters that are not well developed. You throw Cyborg in, you throw Flash in, which could have been movies on their own. And that's what Marvel has done. Hey, we're going to give Captain America and Iron Man and not put everything all into one basket all at the same time.
Yeah, and so because it makes it, and it's marketing wise, it's smart because if you watch one of the movies, you want to go back and watch the individual one as well to have a look see at that. We're into Marvel DC stuff again. We should do a whole.
We should do a whole.
What music? How can we tie music and soundtracks into this? Oh, you know what?
What?
I got an oddball thing to mention. Silence is pretty powerful too when it's
This is
used
true.
when it's used correctly.
Yeah.
One of the most powerful places I've seen the use of silence in a film was in The Exorcist. And as I know I'm a pastor and it's a rated R movie, but there are a lot of theological themes in it. And if you take out some of the R stuff, but I shared a story on here before about that very topic. I'll just go through it really quick. When I was very young, I was dating a girl. Her father was a Catholic. He was a very, very, very religious man. And we rented The Exorcist. He was in bed. We stayed up, watched the movie. I go home. Come back the next day because I forgot the movie. This is when you had to rent movies.
Oh, yeah.
I said, I forgot the movie. And he said, oh, Drew, come on in. Yeah, it's in there. I watched it. And I just wanted the floor to swallow me. And I said, you watched The Exorcist? And he said, yeah. And he said, it was good. I liked it. And I thought, what? I go, you liked it? And he said, well, biblically it was accurate. And he said, it's funny, though. And I said, oh, you didn't think it was scary? He goes, that stuff doesn't scare me. And he said, but the Bible says that the devil comes forth like a roaring lion. And I was just glad that he said, I don't want you to ever come see my daughter again. But he because I'm thinking of all the R scenes that give it an R. Why I got to... And he didn't bring that up. And so, anyway, but the scenes where they're not even the possession scenes, where he's having a dream about his mother dying, and he sees her coming up the subway stairs and going back down the subway stairs, and there's absolutely no sound. But you can hear the sound of his breathing when he's sleeping. It's very... Sounds like a sleeping person. No sound at all. No rumble. No nothing. Just that, and then it made that a real dream for me when I saw it. And then his mom comes up and he's waving, trying to get her attention. She looks sad, and she turns around and walks back down the subway stairs. And he's desperate, and you just hear that sound of someone sleeping. And I'm like, man, I get chills thinking about it. Did you see it? Okay.
So,
We were just talking about, before we started, we were talking about Dr. Sleep. And you've read Dr. Sleep, but you haven't.
yeah, I saw the.
You
I
did
saw,
see
I saw
it.
maybe the first half.
I noticed you had a little giggle when I said The Exorcist.
Yeah. Someone likes some scary
Scary.
movies and books,
Scary.
but Dr. Sleep, they utilize that. All you hear is heartbeat.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, just like in The Shining.
Just like in The Shining.
But it's so much more about Danny and about how messed up he is now as a grown-up and being a recovering alcoholic.
So they know how to utilize silence.
Yeah. It
It can be powerful if it's put in the right place.
you know, walking down the hallway in The Shining with the carpet, and then all you hear is,
Yeah.
it's intense.
That's one of those things that doesn't seem to get old in movies.
Yeah.
You know, we talk about things, I've seen it a million times, stop doing it. But that one always seems to work.
When it's well done.
when you can hear your own heart. And I think it's because we've all been in a situation where we could feel or hear our heart. But anyway.
Yeah.
So, okay, what say you? What's next? We're
So we're gonna have to cut this in half and just shoehorn the second half into the.
no, man, this is awesome, though.
I-
Just talking movies.
You know, and we got back on this comic thing. Ghostbusters.
Oh, that's right. I completely interrupted.
No. I think that's a good soundtrack.
The first
That's
one?
Yeah.
Do, 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 do.
And not just that, because that gave it that
No, I know.
schlock.
Right.
But like the orchestral part of it, and just the way it was a giggly. You know, I still remember the first scene with them running out of the library.
Oh, yeah.
You know, and they're just going all over, and the subtle piano that makes that movie. I think that I've watched the Afterlife trailer a couple times, and it just has that same
feel.
that same like, oh boy, it's going to be creepy, but it's going to be silly and funny and serious at the same time. So I'm looking forward to that.
See, that's what I love when
I
you
am
see a trailer or you see a scene in a movie and there's just that subtlety to the music that you know that something's about to shift. The emotion is about to change. Something's about to happen. A great example, I think, is in Skyfall, the James Bond movie Skyfall. Have you seen Skyfall?
I'm trying to think of the last one I saw. If it was which one it was.
Skyfall or Spectre with Daniel Craig.
I don't remember. I love Daniel Craig though.
Yeah, I have all the Bond movies. I love them. That's like one of those things that
He's
you
my
can just put
he's
him
my
in every
favorite
day.
Bond, which some people say, oh, I love him. Anyway, go ahead.
So
What happened?
So there's this part in Skyfall when the bad guy Javier Bardem hunts him down to his ancestral home in Scotland and starts shooting the place up with a helicopter with a Tommy gun and you know, big 50 cal and whatever. And it's fine, and he's running through the house, and it's, you know, a normal action scene. And then they blow up his Aston Martin. The beautiful silver Aston Martin Vanquish. And the music changes. And it's like, da-da, da-doo, da-da. And he just looks up like, oh, it's on. Oh, it's on. And then he sends 2 acetylene tanks through a window and kills a bunch of people. But I love that when it's just like everything's going all right, and then, oh, something's gonna happen. Oh, there's the music.
Yeah,
There's the music.
sometimes the music gives things away.
like in Halloween
Or Jaws.
or Jaws.
But you want to. I mean, sometimes you want that, and sometimes you don't. You know.
Like Halloween, you know, and Friday the 13th.
Yeah.
You know something's going down.
Man, I haven't seen these movies in like.
It's you know, it's time, man. It's cheesy horror movie time.
I had a conversation one time with a buddy riding in a car. This is a weird conversation. It just made me think of it.
Okay.
I said we tried. Okay, hum Star Wars in your head. Da, 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 do it from it. Da, 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 da. Okay, now that you've done that, now that that's in your head, and maybe you guys can do this, but we couldn't. Try to hum the Indiana Jones music.
Oh, I got that.
You can do it.
I can do that.
I could do
Da,
it.
da, 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 da.
I couldn't do
It's
it.
hard.
It took us like a half an
Yeah.
hour. You should have
Yeah.
let her go. I don't think she.
Oh,
No, it's like that's like rubbing your head and
Yeah.
your tummy at the same time.
Right.
Yeah, because you go dun 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 dun, dun, and you go, and we were talking about because we were talking about John Williams.
Yeah.
and I
Yeah,
said,
yeah.
and we go the Indiana Jones music, and we're both going like, I go, I can't.
and I think the only reason I could because I knew where you were headed.
You're a
with that
musician.
for some reason.
Yeah.
You're a musician.
It's not-
No, well, you got to. No, I am too, but I couldn't do it. It took a good, which 15 minutes, which is a long time when you're trying to something I've seen a million times and I can't do it. Dun, 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 dun. I couldn't do it. I went right back to dun, 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 dun. No.
But that's another great movie where the music just carries you through,
Oh,
the,
yeah,
through
yeah,
the
yeah.
scene.
You could, when you hear stuff from like any John Williams, like the Superman movies.
Oh yeah.
Like you may not have seen that movie in 30 years, but you
The
hear that song, you're
original-
like, that's
yeah.
from Superman.
Yeah.
You know. Yeah. So okay, so
Yeah.
we're at the we did talk a lot about movies, and probably as much as we talked about music in movies.
Spinal Tap.
Yeah, that's.
I know.
I don't know where to
The
start.
little children of Stonehenge.
Yeah, the statue being the wrong size, and
Yeah.
man, I've got a lot of commentary on that. Probably should not go.
Yeah,
into it.
we actually, yeah. See, I had several scenes and things written down here from movies that as soon as I walked in here, I realized, ooh, some of these are not appropriate.
It's a lot of content. What
Like
about Jared? Since he's our guest.
What?
What about me?
Did you bring notes of anything specific that are like at the forefront of your thoughts on the topic?
No, I think going back and this is probably not even a topic because I just am funky with it, but even books and comic books these days have started using music as extra filler.
Like in the
Really?
little trailer things, you mean? Or do you mean in the context of the book itself?
In the context of the book itself.
So they'll say what's playing in the background or something like that?
They'll say what's playing in the background. Like I know a lot of there's a guy Jeff Lemire who is one of the premier writers these days. Has done some DC work and some Marvel work and a lot of independent stuff, but has got soundtracks, and will release a playlist of these are songs that aren't necessarily in the comic, but this is what I was listening to.
Inspired by or something.
Inspired by.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
with a
so
book.
that's a. Yeah, I mean, you've got a King book, and you've got The Stand, and
Yeah.
you've got King does a lot with lyrics, and we'll have those at the beginning of chapters and that kind of thing. And
See, that makes sense to me, but to just preface by saying House of the Rising Sun is playing.
yeah, and very much, and maybe I'm not even describing it right, but I think there's a lot of room for that as well. Again, we talk about that holistic thing.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to do that with a lot of my stuff as well. Just try to incorporate, make it more overall accessible, maybe.
Do you
I'm
think
not
it,
sure.
it sets the mood more?
I think it sets the mood more. I think it makes the story different. I don't know. I can't. Maybe I should think about this more.
Maybe.
And we can talk about this again sometime.
I think it would. It would affect me if I'm reading a story and I know what, even in the story, what music's playing in the background. I would hear it in the back of my head when I'm reading it. I mean, I think it's unavoidable. The
Yeah.
problem is, where do I turn it off? I need someone to come back in the story and go, the song
Right.
stopped now.
Right.
Right. Yeah.
Stop that.
Yeah.
Stop that right now. But yeah, like I hear voices and I hear voices in my head.
Voices.
Join the club.
Voices.
But when I'm reading a story, even if it's the Bible or whatever, if it's a conversation, I'm hearing voices. I'm hearing the people talking, and it's usually a character.
Yeah,
we had a big, long discussion about this, that when I was first starting to read the Bible. And I got to the scene when they start talking in tongues, and Peter goes out and yells at the crowd. In my head, it was Samuel L. Jackson.
Oh, wow.
I know that's a very. I'd never in a million years would have said Samuel L. Jackson.
But that's how I understood
because
it.
The whole vocabulary would be different.
Well, yeah, but it changed the intensity of it for me, rather than it being some wimpy, just dude coming out and saying, "No, they're not drunk. Don't yell at them. They're feeling the spirit." So for Samuel L. Jackson to come out and say, "He was the man, and you killed him."
Yeah, he said murdered. This Jesus that you murdered.
Yeah.
I mean, in the original.
To me, it changed the intensity of it. So if I had a playlist to go with it, I don't know if that would help me or hinder me.
And maybe it's not and maybe where I'm thinking, and this is a lot of my own stuff. Maybe it's not necessarily a playlist.
But a mood?
Yeah. It's like, hey, Jared's written this thing.
Mm-hmm.
This is some stuff that inspired that thing. Give this a listen to as well. Kind of. That's where I'm. It's a topic for another day.
Huh.
There's I don't know. Like you said, books and I love poetry too.
You'd love his stuff.
I bet
come on, it's really good. Genuinely, it's good.
Thanks.
I'd like to read it. I got a bunch of it too. That I didn't realize I loved it as much as I did until when I was in school. I don't know.
I honestly can't believe you two haven't met before this, because he's written a comic book. He's got a couple albums that he's released.
You've written a comic book?
We did that. We'll talk about it off. But, you've written books. You've done music. You're both in the church stuff. You both have very similar taste in movies, obviously.
We should all get together and make an animated film about Jesus. Who it made me think about that. Whose voice would I have to be Jesus? Morgan Freeman.
Absolutely.
Who would I have be Judas? Jeremy Irons.
Oh, that would be epic.
That would be epic. Some people have a voice, and we're talking about Sound of Music, I know, but some people have a voice that arrests your attention.
Yeah.
Right.
And for different reasons.
Jeremy Irons. Oh,
Jeremy
my goodness.
Irons does for me. Morgan Freeman does.
Mm-hmm.
Jack Nicholson, because there's some people that you hear their voice and you go.
Anthony Hopkins.
Al Pacino, old Al Pacino.
Old Al Pacino, not cigarette Al Pacino.
Stop because we need money. Now, not the hoo-ha!
Yeah,
I'm gonna be a new tenant. Not the rat on your friends. The two, the younger Al Pacino. No, they're both good.
Like Mad Michael Corleone.
I know it was you, Fredo. That Al
Yeah,
Pacino.
I know it was you.
Okay, I have gone off on a completely witless jag.
Last
talking about making an animated film.
Last podcast we were talking about food conspiracies, and we were talking about Chuck E. Cheese, and he started going into South Park voices. So all bets are off.
For anyone listening and watching, he's a pastor. Listen. These are things. Okay, I'm not. I don't actively watch this stuff, but it's part of our culture.
It's part of our cultural narrative.
I have a filter about what gets in and stuff.
I've never seen the Kardashians, but I know what they are, and
clear way back in school, in college, I had a professor at the end of every class. He said, and again, as always, he said, this is the end of every class. If anyone can tell me why the Kardashians are famous or deserve to be, you'll get 10 bonus points on the next quiz. And everybody's like, I don't know. They just are.
Yeah.
That's not an answer. And so, but back to what do we want to close out on, Jared? What's your? I would think you've got some pretty strong opinions about kind of the way we opened about music's involvement and its power to amplify film and music. Why don't we close on what are your thoughts on that as we depart?
I think the point was really good with the the film being the epitome of all this, putting the visual and the musical thing putting all of that story together. Mm-hmm. I think the music just kind of ties everything up. Mm-hmm. But it's not separate. It has to be a part of everything else. It has to be together. It has to work and mesh well and kind of do that thing that brings all of those thoughts and actions, to your conclusion, whatever that's going to be. Yeah.
And when it's done right, you will literally remember it forever.
Yeah.
The first movie I ever saw that wasn't like a cartoon or whatever, 5 years old, I saw The Natural with Robert Redford. I can tell you almost every line of that movie with my eyes closed if I hear the music. Because the music just takes me there. And I will, there it is. It's Robert Duvall. It's, I see it. I see all of it. And it'll never leave my mind.
Yep. It's powerful. The music has the ability, like I said, to me, it turns up the contrast on the emotion in a film. And whether it be a soundtrack score or cleverly selected tunes to support the story, no denying its power. And I apologize for times I went off the topic today. It's just that when you're talking,
no, it's
just music is one aspect of filmmaking, and filmmaking is so all encompassing. It's a little hard not to get down some of the detours once in a while.
Oh my goodness, there's so many movies that we could talk about with great music that we could be here all day.
I know. That's why I didn't make a long list or a list.
I don't know. They won't be able to see this on camera, but this is my brain on music. I mean, geez. And several of those, we can't talk about
This is your brain.
This is your brain on music.
Your brain on music. All right. Thank you, Jared.
Thank you.
It's been awesome. We can come back and either have a part 2 or of this or anything you want.
Yeah.
So
that's great.
Yeah. Thanks. It's been a great time. Thank you, sir.
Woo-hoo, thank you. Yep. Have a great one.
You too.